What is up, everyone? Hello and welcome to ROG Pulse, your inside look at what's happening behind the scenes here at the Republic of Gamers. And man, it has been a wild week, as it always is with CES. We announced a lot of things and we had, well, a lot of questions.
I'm tired, Jake. I'm tired. Yes, we have been collecting all of your questions on Discord and hunting down answers for you. Plus, I threw in a few other questions I got from people just like on the floor at CES that we saw from you guys here on Twitch and YouTube and all that stuff. So, um, he, quick rundown for those of you that haven't been here with with us for one of these before. You can ask questions live in the chat. We're watching chat, but we're gonna kind of batch them. So we're gonna do a bunch of questions from the Discord because that's kind of the main focus of this is trying to get to the questions that we were able to go hunt down answers to.
Mhm.
Then we'll take a break. We'll answer some live questions from chat, and then we'll do more Discord questions. If we don't answer your question right away, that's why we're going to batch it in those other sections. So please don't spam the chat with the same question over and over again. We will get to it if we have the answer. Unfortunately, we can't answer everything today. Either we don't have the answer offhand, or maybe it's something we're not allowed to say yet, or maybe if you're asking a question and you're not getting answers because we already answered it earlier in the show. So if someone's asking a question that's already been answered, help them out, chat. Help them out. And then yeah, that's again, we're reading everything. I've got chat right here. We've got someone watching chat for us and putting
Mhm.
questions in our document. So let's do it. Let's uh let's start with the big question that we always have to kind of head off for every one of these Q&As, shall we?
I'm gonna do a risky thing and make sure studio mode is working correctly for us. We're good. We're good. We're good. Beautiful. Beautiful. All right. This is the most common question that we get. We've seen it in chat. We've seen it in Discord. We see it every year. People say, hey, what about random product, whether it be the Strix Scar or whatever device we may not have a updated version of? Will you make a new version of that in the future?
Yeah, we always get a bunch of questions about products we didn't announce that people wanted to see. But as always with these Q&As, I have to start by saying that unfortunately, we cannot announce future products before it is time to announce them. A couple small things I can kind of talk about. So a lot of people did ask why we didn't refresh the Flow Z13 this year. And there actually is a pretty clear reason for that. So usually the way it works is that we'll redesign a product one year, and then the next year we'll redesign a different product and we'll just refresh that one with new chips, right? And we'll kind of talk back and forth that way. So last year the Flow Z13 got a big redesign. This year would be a year that we refresh it with new chips. Okay, we did do the Kojima one, that's true, but people were
It's
asking
so
why we didn't
beautiful.
get a new Z13
Yeah.
that wasn't like a special collector's edition one. And the answer is that there was no new like top end Strix Halo chip to put in it this
Right.
year. So there's no need to refresh it with a new chip. The 2025 model is still current, and you can still find it on shelf now. And so we're going to kind of carry that through 2026. Now, whether certain regions continue to sell it through the end of the year depends on how well it's doing in that country and if that region orders more units. But that's a country dependent thing. For all intents and purposes, the Flow Z13 is just going to continue on through the year because it is still the best Strix Halo chip you can get. We also got questions about whether we'll see any 2026 Strix laptops with the new Panther Lake CPUs. All I can say there is that we didn't forget Strix. We never forget Strix. You'll just have to stay tuned. Otherwise, there's nothing else I can specifically address about any other products that may or may not exist in the future. You guys know how it goes. If and when something is ready to announce, we will announce it. So follow us and subscribe to us here on Twitch and YouTube for all of that information as it happens. Kind of the same thing with pricing and availability. I know that people are going to ask in chat, like, "Hey, when are we going to get a price on this, or how much does this cost? When is it going to be on shelf?" I can sometimes give you a vague idea, but for the most part, if you aren't already seeing pricing and availability info out there, we can't give you any more specific information than what's already public. So, with all of that said, let's start with some questions about the Zephyrus Duo, since I think that was probably our most popular product on the show floor.
For good
It
reason.
was it was very crowded around that part of the booth, and
Yeah.
yeah, for good reason.
Okay, first question is from Futanyu. Should I be worried about the burn-in on the Zephyrus Duo's OLED displays? Are these quantum dot OLEDs? How accurate and vivid are the colors? Can either display be turned off?
Lots of Zephyrus Duo questions from Futon Yu. I'm going to try and just go through these one by one. So he's asking specifically about the Duo because that second display lies against the part of the laptop where all the internal components live, um, regarding the burn-in thing. So there are a couple things here. First of all, OLEDs have just come a long way in terms of burn-in, right? It's not nearly as big of a concern as it was in the earlier days of the tech. We have plenty of OLED care features baked into the software as well that will help prevent burn-in. And yes, we absolutely considered that when designing the cooling for this machine too. So if you watch that CES reveal presentation, they talked about the vapor chamber, the dual fans, and especially that graphite sheet that we put in between the display and the motherboard.
Right.
All of that was exactly for that reason, right? To keep things cool and keep those displays cool. So, and remember, while this is a new design for the Zephyrus Duo, we've actually had the ZenBook Duo for a couple of years on the ASUS side of things, and I haven't heard any major concerns about that display. So, yeah, I would not be concerned about that. Now, as for your other questions, yes, these Zephyrus machines do use quantum dot OLEDs, like our other the G14 and the G16. In fact, quantum dot OLEDs have really great coverage. You asked about how accurate and vivid the colors. Very vivid, as you would expect from a QD-OLED. But to your point about accuracy, this year's Zephyrus machines, for the first time, are undergoing a very rigorous factory calibration for the colors. So the colors are actually even more accurate than in previous years. We're now ensuring an average delta E of less than 1 in HDR,
Wow.
if that means anything to you. So this machine will literally come with like professional grade color accuracy out of the box. That is new for this year, and it is very exciting.
That's going to cement this as just a good, creator slash gamer device. I think that's
100%.
a really important thing for creators, and I love that.
That was the goal. And it's funny because I remember when a couple years ago, like delta E of less than 3 was a big deal. And now we're aiming for less than 1
Amazing.
with factory calibration. It's just wild. As far as turning off the second displays, the longer version of this question, he was like, to save battery life and stuff. To save battery life, I want to be able to turn off the second display. Yes, you can. It acts just like any Windows machine with 2 displays. Like you can limit it to 1 display at any time, but you don't really need to worry about that because that's kind of the form factor kind of takes that into account, right? If you only want to use 1 display, you put that keyboard cover on the bottom display and it works just like a regular clamshell laptop, right? It looks like a very traditional laptop with 1 display. That bottom display will turn off when that keyboard cover is on.
So sick.
So yeah, it's super simple and intuitive. I can't think of a ton of situations in which you're going to have both displays up but want to turn one off. So you have to like go into the monitor settings and do that. Like it's just intuitive. You just plop that keyboard cover on and you've got a single display laptop. Super cool. Futon, you also asked some other questions in Discord about external displays, which I wasn't able to get an answer to in time, but you can connect to external displays to this machine through Thunderbolt if you want even more. And I think he also asked about performance and battery life when plugged in and unplugged. And that should be similar to any other gaming laptops we have, right? The same kind of rules apply. If you're gaming or you're doing really like hardcore work that requires a lot of horsepower, you're going to want to be plugged in for best performance. If you're doing basic web browsing or something while you're unplugged, I would recommend going into Armory Crate and putting it into eco mode to get the best battery life out of the integrated GPU. Again, same rules apply as any other machine. So
love it. Okay, let's move on to our next question here, which is from Raksh Boss or Raksh5 Boss Gaming. How with such a thin chassis, how does the Zephyrus cooling system handle sustained 4K gaming without throttling?
I think we got a very similar question to this in last year's CES Q&A. We actually get asked this a lot. People always wonder if the Zephyrus Duo or G14 or G16 are so thin, how do you keep them cool? And there are kind of 2 halves to this question. So the first half is that we have full control over the chips in the laptop. So when we get GPUs from NVIDIA, for example, we get the chip itself, right? The little die. We put it on the motherboard of the laptop, and then we program it to run at a certain wattage. That wattage allows us to balance performance with cooling for the chassis in question, right? Because higher wattage is going to generate more heat and higher performance. So an RTX 5080 laptop GPU, for example, you put that in a larger ROG Strix machine. We run it usually at like 175 watts. That same RTX 5080 chip in a thinner Zephyrus machine, we're going to run it at more like 120 or 130 watts, depending on the model. That's how we prevent it from getting too hot. We
Hmm.
just don't run it as hot. Now, that also means that the Strix machine is going to get slightly better performance from that chip because it's getting more power to drive it. But the Zephyrus machine is still going to perform really well. I use a G14 as my daily driver. It's awesome. And you're going to get the improved user experience benefits of a thinner, more portable machine if that's important to you, right? So that's kind of goes into the buying decision for you. It's a little bit less about, oh, this machine's going to get hot. And it's more about if maximum performance is all you care about, that Strix machine is going to be great for you.
Mhm.
If you want something that's going to fit into a more on the go kind of lifestyle, the Zephyrus machines are going to balance power with portability a bit more because they're thinner. Now, the second half of that is, yeah, we build in a lot of advanced cooling tech in order to make it happen. Just like I talked about in the previous question with the Duo, right? Many of those Zephyrus machines have vapor chambers. We use liquid metal. We use more and more advanced fans as the years progress, or more heat pipes. We're able to make changes big and small to the cooling to extract as much performance out of those chips as possible. Because the more we advance the cooling, the more we can push that wattage a little bit higher. And we've seen that happen in the past, right? Where we've improved the cooling enough to add 10 watts to the GPU compared to the previous generation, right? Again, while keeping it within the thermal spec of that chassis. So every laptop is designed to be as efficient as possible, and then every GPU is programmed to fit into the power envelope of the machine we're putting it in.
Cool, cool. Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Okay, moving on. The next question we have is, can the Duo's keyboard connect via USB-C?
This is actually a question I got on the show floor, and I was like, oh, I haven't even thought about it. So I had to go hunt it down. Yes, you can connect the Duo's keyboard to the Duo or to any other machine using the USB Type-C port on the side of the keyboard cover. Like the keyboard has its own little USB-C port that you can use to charge it too if you want to like fast charge it. And the same goes for Bluetooth. That is a Bluetooth keyboard, just a standard Bluetooth keyboard. So if you want to, you can pair that keyboard with another laptop or a
Hmm,
phone or something if you had a reason to do so. Um,
that's kind of awesome, actually.
so yeah, it's pretty cool. Um, okay, so those are all the questions about the Duo. Easily, I think the most popular device on the show floor. But the other big one, the other crowded part of the booth, was the ROG XREAL R1 glasses. Those got a ton of attention, and I know Jake is itching to get his hands on some. I actually had a conversation with someone today about your unit, Jake.
Oh,
So
is it good news?
uh, yeah, I
Oh,
should be getting it
oh,
pretty decently soon-ish, kind of.
you hear that,
Maybe like
chat?
next month.
That is something
Yeah,
I'm very eager to show off here on stream with Twitch and YouTube, just because it's super interesting. We did test them out briefly during our
so
visit in
unique.
Taiwan. Yeah, it's very cool. I'm very eager to get time on with it. But Willie Anto asked, can prescription lenses be added to the ROG XREAL R1 glasses, and does it have any features to reduce motion sickness?
Yes, we actually got this question from a few people like this. Buddy 305 Love also asked this. So we don't have a solution for prescription lenses yet, but we are trying to figure out the best way to offer that service. It is a bit more complicated because it's the prescription lenses are medical related, so there are different kind of regulations in
Huh.
different countries that we have to figure out, and so it's just a little more complex. But stay tuned is all I can say. Um, and obviously this affects us as I guess you don't wear prescription glasses
Well,
like I do,
yeah,
or
I
Mr.
know. I have
LASIK.
LASIK.
He just wears those to
Blue
up
light
his
filters.
nerd cred.
Yeah.
As far as motion sickness, yes, we do have a couple unique features that most other glasses don't have that help solve that problem.
Hmm.
So one is the fact that the displays in each eye go up to 240 hertz on these
Which
glasses.
feels way more
Uh,
natural. Like,
Yes, as we know, higher refresh rates and higher frame rates do help reduce motion sickness in VR and AR situations.
mhm.
So that will help some. Um, Another big one is that the anchor mode. So on a lot of glasses, when you project, a 170-inch virtual display in front of your eyes, the display will move as your head moves, right? Because it's just sitting in front of the glasses. Which means all those little like micro movements you make as you play or as you watch something can make some people feel a little wiggy. With the anchor mode on these glasses, you press a button and that display stays put, so that when you move your head, the screen adjusts as your head moves to kind of keep the game in one place. That is really huge for motion sickness too. So if you've had problems with other AR glasses in the past, that may be the ticket that helps with the ROG XREAL R1s.
So imagine you're on an airplane, you're sitting here, you lock the movie up here, but you want to be able to look at your phone like this. It's going to lock the movie up here, and then you can still look at your phone. Magic.
I was I was telling my wife about it, and she was like, "Does it mean you can play video games in bed lying down?" And I'm like, "Yes," which just to complete my complete transition into a puddle of goo playing video
It's
games.
perfect. I mean, compare like pairing this with your ROG phone or your ROG Ally is a dream, but also the fact that it natively docks with your. Oh, I'm just so excited for the glasses. All right, let's continue on with our questions here. I believe we have some more for the ROG R1. Aniket asked, is the ROG XREAL R1 control dock compatible with other similar glasses? And do the ROG XREAL R1 have all the features of the XREAL One Pro?
Yeah, so he's saying that the XREAL One Pro kind of look very similar to our XREAL R1s, and yes, they are. So he's asking about the 6 degrees of freedom and the Real 3D feature that uses AI to convert 2D to 3D for the XREAL One Pro. Wow,
Sorry,
just teasing
I'm
that
just
there, aren't you?
taunting that guy in chat.
So the XREAL Eye for 6 degrees of freedom, yes, we do have that on the R1s. The Real 3D feature, I don't have a confirmation on yet, so stay tuned on that. That's all I have. For the control dock, no, it was built specifically for our glasses. We don't support other glasses on it. That's I don't know if that means that other glasses strictly won't work. I don't want to say that nothing will ever work because you never know if you're going to plug something in it, it magically works or half works, but we don't support it. I'll put it that way.
Okay.
And then sorry, this is a whole separate question.
Yeah. Okay. So another question
Sorry,
from
I started reading the next question.
right VGA. Will the dock for the ASUS XREAL R1 glasses be available for purchase separately? I'm very interested in utilizing one for travel setups.
This is the simple answer. Right now, it is only available bundled with the glasses.
Okay. Okay. Well,
Who
that's
knows if we find a way to make that product work with useful for other stuff. I don't want to say never, but right now it's bundled with the
it is a
glasses.
bundle. Yep. Which means I believe you can only buy the glasses as a bundle too. I believe they are. It's you buy it, you get it as a bundle, and I think that is the intent. But
Okay.
all right. So we are going to look
All
at
right.
some live questions next. So give us a moment to.
And what I want to say something first before we dive into these, because I'm looking at the live questions and I'm seeing a lot of people asking, hey, do you have more specific availability for this?
No.
What about the price?
Yeah.
We already addressed that earlier in the show. Like what's public is what's public. We can't give you anything other than what's public in terms of pricing and availability. We did have a question. I'm just going to read this one because it's related to what I just said. Captain Chats on YouTube says, is it possible to sign up for a notification to know when a specific product is available? Sometimes, yes. It depends on the region you live in and when those notifications go live. So if you go to the product page, in this case, he's asking about the PG27UCWM. Like if you go to that product page on the ROG site, and specifically go to the product page for your region, you may get a pop-up in the corner that lets you sign up for notifications.
Like text
It depends
messages
on
and
that
stuff.
region's.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think a product page for that particular product is live yet.
Mhm.
I'm not sure why. Sometimes the product pages lag a little bit. Once that product page is live, check it for your region. If your regional office has that set up, you'll be able to sign up, but it just depends is the answer.
Okay. All right, poking through this here. Is it
I'm
possible
highlighting
to
ones that I know the answer
stream
to.
on one and game on the other screen when it comes to the Zephyrus Duo? I'm assuming here because we were talking about the Duo earlier. Yet the simple is, yeah, that's something that I'm going to be showcasing a lot on stream. I mean, in our product photos, you can see the Duo. We show it with it used as like a notebook where both displays are vertical. That's cool. But also
That is really cool.
just natively having, your gameplay display and then your OBS display, or maybe you have half OBS, half browser. You can do all of that. The machine has a ton of power in it. You'll be able to use NVENC encoding to stream and game all on the same machine. You may have to turn your game settings a little bit down to make sure you don't overload your encoding. You're not going to necessarily be getting the same performance. It's something I talk about a lot on stream. Even with my top end 5090 PC, I prefer using a secondary machine to encode with it. So you'll need to adjust accordingly depending on what kind of settings you're trying to game at or what kind of game you're trying to play. Regardless, though, it is going to be extremely capable of being an on-the-go single device for streaming and gaming. And we will show that a lot as soon as we can.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's like one of the primary use cases for something like this. Zephyrus Duo.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is made for that exact situation.
Yep.
Okay, another question. Is it possible to sign up? Oh, we already talked about that, the notifications.
Sorry.
Yep, the new Zephyrus Duo, is it going to utilize the ROG Bulwark Dock and still be able to go into turbo mode? Bulwark Dock doesn't have enough power for that, I believe.
So I think what he's asking is, okay. So I think there might be some confusion here. The
Yeah.
Bulwark Dock is just like a USB dock. You can connect the Duo or any laptop to that dock and expand your USB ports and use the HDMI, whatever, all that stuff coming out of the dock. But you cannot, and you can charge your laptop through that, but
The power delivery.
USB power delivery charging is already lower than using the included power brick,
Right.
the big power brick, right? So the answer is no, but that's true of like any laptop that doesn't primarily charge on USB-C. The Bulwark Dock or our USB PD. In general, we only provide usually around 100 watts. I'm not sure if that's true of the Duo. Don't quote me exactly.
I think the only device that can go into turbo mode or full power with the Bulwark is the Ally.
Right, because the Ally, it's max. It only needs 65 watts, whereas the Duo is like, I don't remember the exact wattage, but that power brick is going to be like 280 plus watts.
Even our new Zephyrus C13 uses a 200 watt brick. Right.
Yeah.
The old one used 100 watts. So that's
because those dedicated GPUs require a lot of power. And the thing is, we limit the USB-C power delivery on those laptops to 100 watts because if you were to push it higher, you lose a ton of efficiency, right? Because of the way that you have to measure the voltage and amperage and stuff for power delivery. So you just end up generating a lot of like waste electricity and waste heat. And so usually those USB-C power delivery is just 100 watts. So I use that all the time with my Zephyrus for just like browsing the web or watching videos. But if you're going to game or you want to put it into turbo mode and do something that requires a lot of horsepower, you want to plug in that main power brick.
Right. Yep. Cool. Well, that's a fun, interesting dynamic having the flexibility of using USB-C to charge your device or use it on the go, but not necessarily.
I use it all the time.
Yeah.
It's so nice,
right? Especially
to have that, even
traveling.
if it's not full power.
Yeah. Cool. We got another question from Kendrain Uzuka. Can the Cetra Open Wireless gaming earbuds be used on PC?
Yep.
They're
Yep.
USB or Bluetooth.
Yeah. It's just a wireless USB dongle. You can plug that into a PC. You can plug it into your phone. You can plug it into your Ally. You can plug it into anything that takes USB-C. And those things are pretty cool. They sound really good for open earbuds. Like I totally, I didn't really think about this when they first showed it to us, but I could totally see those being really useful for something like the Ally, where, like I play the Ally a lot in bed, right next to my wife. And it's nice to be able to hear the music from my game with headphones because I don't want to play it through the speakers and bother her. But when I use traditional earbuds that go in my ear, then I'm like blocking her out. And if she tries to like talk to me, I have to like take them out and be like, what? Whereas with the open earbuds, it's nice because I can hear my game. She doesn't have to hear my game, but I can also hear her. It's like really cool. So yeah, those earbuds drew a lot of attention at CES too. I am seeing, guys, I'm seeing a lot of questions about pricing, availability. Will you make this product? We can't announce anything that hasn't been announced. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just going to keep reiterating that. Also, I'm going to keep reiterating, please don't spam the chat with the same question. We are writing down all of these questions. If we don't answer it, it's because we don't have an answer. Are the new clear housings on the 27-inch monitors going to be coming to any 32-inch monitors? I don't know. Maybe one day. We can't announce anything that hasn't been announced.
Yeah.
Yeah, and some of these are just too in depth that I don't have them off the top of my head. So this is why we recommend asking these questions in the Discord chat, so we can go hunt them down from some of the product managers for you if they're really in depth. But yeah, so let's. Those are all of the ones that I can currently answer.
Okay.
So let's get back to some of our Discord questions, and we're gonna keep scanning for questions, and we'll probably do another quick live question break at the very end for anything that we missed.
All right, moving on. From Higlot, now that the RGB stripe OLEDs have no white subpixel, what are the remaining differences between QD-OLED and the Tandem OLED panels?
This is a really great question. A really great question. Because he's saying that white subpixel for a long time was one of the main differentiators between QD OLED and WOLED. There are other differences in the technology, but that was one of the most kind of like practical differences. Clearly, Higlot, you know your stuff when it comes to displays, and you are right. In a lot of ways, this does kind of close the gap between the two technologies. They're going to look more similar than they probably have in the past, not just because of the removal of that white subpixel, but also that black shield film on the QD OLEDs are going to make the blacks look more black without that kind of purplish tint that some of the older QD OLEDs sometimes would exhibit under a lot of ambient light. Now, they are still different technologies, right? There may still be some minor differences just to the way they do things, right? One is, yeah, like the new QD-OLEDs are using an RGB stripe subpixel layout, but they're still using a quantum dot layer for color and things like that. Minor differences. But I want to try and present this in a different way, especially as the gap closes between these. It's not so much about which one should I buy. It's more about one panel manufacturer makes their displays in this way, and another panel manufacturer makes their displays in another way. And we purchase the panels based on the form factor we're trying to hit for that monitor and what's available. So, if we're trying to make a 27-inch monitor, oh, this manufacturer has an RGB striped tandem OLED in 27-inch. We'll take that. Oh, we want to make it ultra wide, and that panel comes in QD OLED, so we'll use that panel for this monitor. That's like kind of how that works. It's not really designed to be the main deciding factor between two monitors, especially if you look at the monitors we just announced at CES. One of those is a 27-inch 4K dual mode monitor. The other is a 34-inch ultra wide display. So you're going to pick based on the form factor, the resolution, the refresh rate you need. The panel type is like pretty far down on the list, and it only really matters if everything else is kept equal. If you are that discerning that you're deciding between two equivalent panels, one of which is tandem OLED and one of which is QD OLED, I would keep an eye out for reviews that'll get really deep into the nitty gritty. I'll let the reviewers kind of handle some of those comparisons for you. But for most people, I don't think that that's something you need to worry about because both have improved so much and both look amazing.
Awesome. Yeah, I cannot wait to see these in person because I have yet to see the newest panels. Anything with the Black Shield tech sounds cool. All right.
It is cool.
Yeah. Next up from Tiger, how does the Black Shield film on the QD OLEDs differ from the TrueBlack Glossy on the Tandem OLEDs? Is it matte or is it glossy?
So the Black Shield film on the QD OLEDs is very glossy. It's not matte at all. And I think that Tiger might be asking this question because it has different branding. It's not called TrueBlack Glossy. And that's mostly because it is a little bit different in that it's specifically tackling some of the challenges that QD OLED has, right? So we talked about how QD OLED can sometimes have a purplish tint if it's under a lot of ambient light. This was designed to tackle that. And QD OLED have softer panels that can tend to scratch more easily. And so that is what the Black Shield film, it is a different film than the TrueBlack Glossy because it's kind of doing different things, but ultimately they look a lot more similar. They're both very, very glossy. No worries there. I want to make sure that's clear because I know people really want their glossy OLEDs.
This is
everyone keeps asking about.
This is next week. We're unboxing this 1 week from today. 1 week from today. Sorry, gotta wait. I gotta wait too. It's worse for me. I mean, let's be real.
Must be hard.
Yeah,
must be hard.
The tragic. Yeah, you already opened yours, cheater.
I did because I didn't have to unbox it on stream.
Yeah. Okay. Question from VGA. Does the ROG Swift OLED PG34WCDN have a PBP option? I'd like to be able to connect two devices and split the display 50-50.
Yes, it does. So
Nice.
VGA is talking about our auto KVM feature where you can connect one keyboard, one mouse, and two separate machines into a single ultra wide monitor and split the display down the middle to show one machine on the left and one machine on the right and control them both with a single mouse and keyboard. And yep, the PG34 does include that feature. We're trying to include that on as many monitors as it is feasible to do so and as it makes sense to do so. So, yeah, I don't know if I've seen that on a 34-inch ultra wide yet from us. I could be wrong. Originally, we did it on the super ultra wides that were
Yeah.
like 32 by 9. So then you had two 16 by 9 monitors. On the 34-inch, they're going to be, you're going to have, it's not going to be two full 16 by 9 monitors on each side, but you're going to have still a decent amount of space. And that's going to be pretty cool. I would have killed for that back in my days when I was freelancing and I had multiple PCs in here to test multiple things. Would have been really handy.
Yeah. I'm more and more wanting that in my life. I was saying I think I'm ready to convert to the ultra wide life. We'll see. We'll see.
Ooh,
I've never done it.
cool.
I've
Well, they're
never used.
back.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I know, right? It's nice.
what a good time.
Exactly. All right. Next up on the list. Does the new AI accelerated NPU on laptops actually help boost in-game FPS, or is it mainly for creative workflows?
This is a really good question, and I've seen this asked a lot over the past couple of years. As we see more and more NPUs get integrated into the chips on these laptops, like people want to know, can they be used for things like upscaling, frame generation, and other gaming scenarios, similar to the tensor cores on NVIDIA GPUs? So the answer right now is my understanding is no, not really. The way that those features work, it's much easier and more efficient to have the GPU perform those tasks so it can stay in sync with the work the GPU is doing on rendering the frames and all of that stuff.
Okay.
So the NPU is really more for creative workflows, like you mentioned, or other programs that make use of the NPU. So, like, you've got like the automatic eye gaze correction in video chats, or you have Microsoft Copilot, right? Things like that. Now, that NPU might at some point get used for like gaming Copilot features, like finding walkthroughs and tips and stuff from the Xbox bar. Like that's a gaming feature that the NPU is being used for, but it's different from the AI features that are like boosting the performance or boosting smoothness, right? For that stuff, you're going to want to stick with what's baked into the game or your GPU, like DLSS. There's a reason those tensor cores are still on those GPUs. They can do the work, and it's going to work really well. If you haven't seen the new DLSS 4.5, by the way, it is really sweet. So give it a shot. Go open up the NVIDIA app and try that out if you want to see the latest advancements in that area.
Technology. It's getting crazy. It's getting crazy. Next up, Chrysantha asks, on the ROG Crosshair X870E Glacial, can the screen image be rotated?
So I checked with the motherboard team on this. They're asking about if you have a motherboard in a non-standard orientation, some cases will put the motherboard like sideways or upside down or whatever. Then the screen's going to be sideways or upside down. So I checked with the motherboard team on this, and they tell me that it is not currently a feature of the screen at this time, but I have passed on that feedback to them because I know that some of you guys use like non-standard orientations and may want that. So we'll see what happens there.
So potential for the future, but okay.
There's always a potential.
Yep.
I don't know how many people are doing that these days, but
Yeah, well, I'm sure there's plenty. Fat Memes asks, will the new updated BIOS from the Neo motherboards come to the older X670E boards?
good question. Kind of a similar situation though. Currently, we haven't announced any plans to do this. We are always trying to update our BIOSes and make sure that the user experience is as good as it can be, even if it's a last gen board. So I'm not saying it'll never happen, just that we haven't currently announced plans to do so. We are very much still in the throes of getting these products out the door, and so we're focusing on them for the moment and make sure that everything is rock solid and ready for you guys. But we'll see.
And again,
It also depends, right? And the older the board, the less space there is on that chip for the BIOS and stuff. So it also just depends on how many new CPUs we have to support on those older boards, and is there space for some of those new features and the new interface and things like that. Sometimes it's just not something we're able to do. It's not something that we're actively avoiding out of laziness or whatever. Sometimes we're just not able to. So I honestly don't know.
Okay. Yeah, still tons of live questions asking about new products, guys. We cannot, if it wasn't announced,
talk about
then we have nothing to share. All right. Pooh asks, how does the ROG X Hi-Fi Man Kithara soundstage and price value compare to others on the market?
I shortened this question because Pooh had a very long question here about
Long
asking,
Pooh.
asking Pooh, asking how it compares to. It's funny because they're on YouTube and their username is Pooh with lots more O's,
Oh, even better.
which made which made me laugh.
I should have made that accurate here on the overlay. Okay.
Well, this was their username in Discord, so it's
Mm,
um. So Pooh was asking about specific other headphones on the market, and I can't really answer that in probably the way that you want, um, but I can give you some hints and some direction. So
okay.
a lot of people asking about the Kithara here. So let's talk about the Kithara.
There he is.
When
Pooh
it
in
comes to
chat.
soundstage, when it comes to soundstage, it's actually very hard to objectively measure soundstage. What I can say is that the soundstage is excellent on the Kithara. I have been listening. I'm not going to show it, but I have been listening to mine over the past few days, and I'm actually a big fan of a big soundstage in my headphones. Love open backed headphones. This is like when I started working at this company. This was my dream product for us to make. Like this was the thing that I wanted so badly for someone to make, and the fact that it's here just makes me giddy. So with that in mind, Pooh, I'm very pleased with the soundstage so far in both gaming and music. So take from that what you will. I want to stay away from comparing it directly to other brands and other products. Like that's just a bit dangerous for me to do in official capacity. So I will wait for your trusted reviewers to get their hands on it and compare it for you. I will say a couple things though. This is a new product. It is not an existing Hi-Fi Man headphone that we just like slapped our logo on. You may find some Hi-Fi Man headphones that to compare it to, I'm sure, but this is a new product. We gave them the specs we wanted, and then we worked together to tune it specifically to the sound signature that we wanted to achieve for this specific product. And I do think that people are really going to like it, and I really think people are going to like the price if you're the kind of person in the market for this type of headphone. Right, it's still a high-end headphone. It's still going to be at the top of our headphone stack, but Pooh was asking us to compare it to a $2,000 headphone. And I don't think I can reveal the price yet, but I can tell you that the Kithara is not going to be $2,000. It's that's not where we are at this point, right? We're trying to make things more affordable than that. And when you compare it to the headphone market, even in its price bracket, I think that this is actually going to be a really great value for those interested in more audiophile level stuff, especially when you consider the fact that it comes with a microphone, right? So we had some people asking like, what separates the Kithara from other Hi-Fi Man headphones, and not only is it a new product that we tuned specifically for this, but also it comes with a detachable boom mic. It comes with gaming features in the software and
Hmm.
whatnot. That if you are a gamer and you like audiophile headphones, well, when you buy an audiophile pair of headphones, if you want a mic, you either have to buy a separate mic or you have to buy one of those detachable boom mics that you can put on. You don't have to do that. That's actually included in the price for this. So keep that in mind as you're like kind of measuring the value of this. So that's really cool for people who just want to buy one product, have it sound amazing, and be able to use it in games. And the microphone sounds really good too. Our microphones, even the microphone on this Delta that I'm not wearing because I have the Carnix, but like the microphones that we have built in the past year or two are just head and shoulders above a lot of the other gaming headset mics that I've used.
Making it really hard to not open this box right now, guys. That's all I'm saying. I'm eager for that unboxing.
I
Next
know.
week,
Sorry, I'm just taunting Jake.
yeah, yeah. Next week we'll have a full deep dive on the Kithara, and we will be able to talk more about that with our unboxing. But we're going to continue on with some more questions here. Next up, Chad117. Will the G1000 case be sold separately?
So not at this time. We did introduce a new case for the CES that looks amazing. I would check out the Chronox if you have not seen it yet. It is gorgeous. But that said, I do want to call out the G1000's upgradability here because that is relevant to your question somewhat. Uh, when we released the G700 last year, one of the things we said is that this uses all standard parts. You can upgrade it over time. You could rebuild a whole new PC in that case over time if you wanted to. And the G1000 is in a very similar boat. It's
Mm,
all standard parts, standard ATX motherboard, standard power supply, standard power supply connectors, all that good stuff. So you could easily pick up the G1000 in its current state and then replace components down the line for kind of a custom version of it, right? You can pop in a new graphics card, you can pop in more RAM. The only kind of tricky part is the AIO. Because it uses that separate chamber for the radiator, you'll probably want to keep the AIO that's already in there and just attach it to a new motherboard. If you were to put a new motherboard and CPU in, because it's an AMD socket, and AMD is really good about cooler compatibility between
That's true.
generations. Theoretically, you should be able to pop that AIO on whatever they release next generation. I'm not guaranteeing that at this moment or anything. Like, we don't know what's coming, but historically, AMD's been pretty good at that. So theoretically, you could replace the motherboard and put that cooler on. Or if you want to go crazy, you can mod the case, of course, to fit whatever you want in it. I did ask on the show floor if you could fit a liquid cooled GPU or graphics card in there with the radiator mounted to the front grill. It doesn't look like that's like supported out of the box the way that grill and the front fans are set up. There isn't like a specific mounting point for a radiator there. But again, you probably could do some light modding to it to make something work, but it's not necessarily built for that. And obviously, we don't like support
Sanction that, yeah.
case, but as I always say, we support you, but we don't support it in terms of customer support.
Yeah.
But overall, it's a very upgrade friendly PC. So do with that what you will.
It's so cool. We saw it in person. It's so cool.
It's so cool, and it's hard because a lot of videos and photos don't necessarily do it justice, because you have to shoot it at the right frame rate to not get like the fans to show.
Right.
And it's so bright and vivid in person. It's one of those that you just have to see it in person to like really get the full effect. It's so cool.
I just want to like slap it on screen because I can do it. Like,
yeah. Oh, there you go. Nice.
What a beauty.
Yeah.
What a beauty. But
yeah, I'm glad that they made that rendering, because that kind of shows it. But again, still, it's not the same as seeing it in person.
No, it's not. And we did get the chance to do that. You just saw the newest version at CES. So, okay, we have, I believe, one more Discord question, and then after that, we can look at more live chat questions. Does the new Falchion Ace 75% support SpeedNova 8K polling?
Yes. So sorry, that's not a yes. That was I saw someone asking a question about, hey, I saw some keyboards at CES, but there wasn't a ton of information about them. Can you tell me? So there's two keyboards. One is the ROG Strix Morph, which is kind of like a more affordable kind of DIY keyboard, where like it's kind of designed that you're going to pop off the keycaps and maybe the switches and replace them with your own. That's a pretty cool board. The other is this Falchion Ace 75%. It does have an 8K polling rate, but it is not a wireless keyboard. It is wired only. So I think there was maybe some confusion here in this question. SpeedNova is our wireless tech. So yes, 8K, no SpeedNova. This Falchion, much like our other Ace products, that Ace name means that it is designed primarily for hardcore esports. And a piece of feedback we got from a lot of people is that they wanted Ace keyboards to be wired. They don't use it wireless. So that's what we did with this one. And I get that. For mice, I'm wireless all the way, because when you move it around, that cord is really annoying.
Drag versus
lag.
lag.
Doesn't move around.
Yep.
Yeah. And my keyboard doesn't move around in that same way. So I'd rather have it plugged in anyway. I have a wireless keyboard here. I'm using the ASUS Extreme, and I just leave it plugged in because it keeps the battery charged. And if you don't if we don't make it wireless, it keeps the cost down, because you aren't building in any wireless tech or a battery.
Right.
So
Lithium
for something like
free.
the Falchion Ace 75%, if most people are going to use it wired, we'll just make it wired and try to make it a little more affordable.
I think that makes perfect
sense.
sense.
That said, if you do want a wireless keyboard, we have a few options, including some with those magnetic Hall switches. So I would look at last year's Falcata, our split keyboard with Hall switches, or the ROG ASUS 96HE has Hall switches as well, and I believe that is also wireless. So if you want the Hall switches and you want wireless, we've got some options for you.
Okay. Well, thank you everyone that asked their questions on Discord. We very much appreciate that, because it gives us time to, again, reach out and kind of get better answers for you. But now we're going to take a look at some live questions that we've seen in chat and see if there's anything else that we can answer here. So first one we have from Janisku is, can you customize the hologram displays on the ROG G1000 pre-built?
Heck yeah.
That's the whole point. That's the whole point.
Bummer if you couldn't. Yeah. No, yeah, you could totally like throw your own GIF or MP4 or whatever on there. It's very similar to like some of our AIO coolers that have the screen on them, right? Like
Mhm.
those are totally customizable the same way. We have a few pre-bundled animations, but you can also throw your own on there. G1000 is the same way. That is a big point of that thing, is to make it customizable and have you kind of allow you to have kind of a one of a kind PC. Um, so yeah.
Cool. What else we got?
Okay, sorry, I'm
Anything else?
highlighting a couple here
Yep.
that I should be able to answer.
Again, guys, when it comes to pricing, availability, that's all going to come when it comes. We don't really have that information here right now, and especially with availability, it's going to vary region to region. I recently learned that the Right Carry 2 is not out in Europe. Right, I knew it came out in America, but it's a
Not
big
yet.
world. It's a big world, and for us to have that information is just not going to happen.
Well, and things change, so a lot of times they don't, like, put that information out there publicly, because if something gets delayed, then the date's just constantly changing. So it's
Yeah.
kind of like one of those things where, because it's so regional, you'll get that information usually closer to when it's on shelf, or it'll just drop.
Hmm. All right. From Calcidraw, will the ROG R1 glasses work directly with the ROG Flow Z13 through USB-C, or does it have to be used via the docking station HDMI?
So it should work just with the USB-C. My understanding is that USB-C is the main way that it's connecting to that stuff. The point of the dock is more about convenience.
Mhm.
So if you have a desktop setup at home, or you have a TV with an Xbox hooked up to it or something, right? When you bring, if you bring your glasses on the go and you're using them with your ally or whatever, and you bring them home, you don't want to have to like reach around your PC or your Xbox, dig around to plug it in every time you bring it home to plug it in. So the idea was that you can put this dock that's permanently hooked up to your system. You come home, you just plug it into the USB-C into that dock, and it immediately is connected to your desktop PC, your monitor, so you can display on both the glasses and the monitor. And the dock has a little like nub that you can use for all of the game visual features, much like on our monitors, the way that you can customize the
Yep.
way that the picture looks. All that you can do right there, the same way you would on our monitors with the dock. Like that's kind of the idea behind it, right? So, but when you're on the go and you want to use it with your Ally, your Z13, or your phone, I saw someone ask, like, does it work with phones? I
Oh
didn't
yeah.
see anything about phones. Yeah, we had it actually on display with a phone at CES, so you could plug it into your phone and watch movies or play mobile games or whatever on the
Half the
glasses too.
appeal.
And
Yeah.
when you come home, right into the dock, easy.
That's actually the only use case I've tried it in was via a phone and a YouTube video, just kind of tinkering around with it. Right. That's the only time we use a Kithara. So very cool to have the flexibility with that kind of device. All right. From Kendrain Uzuka, can you explain open back headset versus over ear headphones? That's a hard one to do on the fly like this.
Oh, I
Yeah.
could totally do it. It's a big
Well,
question.
that's what.
So
Yeah, we're gonna do a full show on it next week, but give her your elevator pitch of
yeah.
that, or him.
So, and I'm also, he said versus over ear. So I'm like, are you talking about the open wireless earbuds versus over ear? Or are you talking about the open backed headset like the Kithara, which is over ear, versus a closed back
Headphones.
over ear?
Yeah.
So a typical pair of headphones like this is closed backed, which means that there's like, right, there's plastic here.
Mhm.
If I'm playing music and Jake is sitting right next to me, he generally won't be able to hear my music, and I won't be able to hear him as well. I kind of isolates both of us from each other, which is cool. And that's very common. And very useful if you're out and on the go, or you're like, playing games in bed next to your spouse or whatever. An open backed headphone. All right, I'm actually going to show the Kithara. I'll show this real quick. Just a little tease here. The Kithara, you can see, has these grills on the side. It is not a fully closed backed headphone. That allows air and sound to move more freely in and out of the ear cup, which gives you a much more spacious sound. It feels much more natural, especially when you're playing games, but also with music too. Now, the downside is that if Jake is sitting next to me, he can hear my music really well, and I can hear him talk. Now, that may not work if you're playing games in bed next to your spouse. But like me, I have a separate gaming room here. And there are situations in which I want to game. My wife is in bed with a migraine or whatever. And so I don't want to crank up my speakers really loud, but I can wear those headphones. She won't hear it from the next room over. And I get that much more spacious soundstage. So that's why open backed are actually some of my favorite types of headphones.
Hmm.
We have more information on. I'm gonna pop this link in chat on not just our not just the Kithara, but in general, what open backed and planar magnetic headphones are all about, because these do use a special kind of driver called planar magnetic. That's what Hi-Fi Man is known for. You can go check out that article that I just popped in chat, but also come back for our unboxing next Thursday, and we will go into so much detail about this. I could talk about this for hours.
So hyped for that show. But another question from chat: does the G1000 customization only work via Armory Crate?
Yes. A lot of the functionality to upload, images. As someone asked about one of the other products too. In general, if we have like a screen on a product and you want to customize it, you're going to need to use some sort of software to do that, and our software is what allows you to do that. So
I'm
yeah,
curious if
that's
it's.
how we're- I
Do you know
don't
it's for
think
sure Armory Crate? Because like my AIO uses its own ASUS Info Hub, which
Oh,
is
that's
separate.
true.
So
That's true. Some of them do use their separate software, and I guess my understanding is that the G1000 is going to use Armory Crate.
okay,
Um, but yeah, I guess don't cool me, because Jake's right. There are certain
there
products that
are
have their own
some
standalone
exceptions.
software,
Yeah,
and there are. I know we have Armory Crate Gear, which is the web app
GearLink.
kind of version of Armory Crate where you don't have to install anything.
Mhm.
That typically we're using it more for like peripherals and stuff, not something this intense of a feature. But who knows what the future
Yeah,
holds?
because like the Raikiri 2 uses GearLink, which is phenomenal, right? It's really just useful for being lightweight and everything else. All right, another question here in chat: what is your best mouse pad in your opinion in terms of value or money?
Well, I'll tell you what our best mouse pad in general is.
Oh, he's pulling out the waifus.
This is the best.
That's an exclusive ASUS China mouse pad that we managed
It was
to.
like it was a collab too.
The-
A Soul. I
yeah,
don't remember exactly
my
what the
wife
collab
still
was.
uses that mouse pad. She loves it. She loves the
That's a great
waifus.
mouse pad. So we have a couple different mouse pads. There are some kind of like the Scabbard and some of those that are kind of more cloth like mouse pads. Those are all great. Ultimately, choose the size that you want and the image you want. A lot of them perform really well. The unique one we have that I would look into if you really care about the surface you're using is the ROG Moonstone. Do we still
Do we still
sell
make
that?
that? I don't know if we do.
Let's find out together.
Um,
Uh, I'm gonna go to
so
the US website. That's more of a hard surface for like
yeah, we
esports
do
and
still
stuff.
have it. We still have it. It's
Yeah,
$80.
look at that.
So basically, the only thing I want to say about a mouse pad is every user is different. Some people don't want a full on desk mat. Some people do. Some people want hard. Some people want soft. Moonstone is the harder type. A lot of FPS players do prefer the harder mouse pads. RTS players, FPS players, they do prefer them. I've always used soft, but soft mouse pads can wear and tear over time. I've certainly coffee stained the crap out of a few of mine because that's just how it goes. But I use a Scabbard. I've used a Scabbard for many years now. That's what I like. It covers my mouse. It covers my keyboard and the whole setup. Just it kind of unifies it, makes it look clean. But I'm looking at some coffee stains right now, and that's fully on me. Right? You can wash them obviously, but pros and cons.
So Jake's answer is depends on how much of a doofus you are.
Doofus, dingus
If you're
is
like
my favorite.
Jake,
By the way.
that's true.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but also it comes to preference, hard or soft.
Yeah. Okay. So I know that there are some other questions. A lot of it is stuff that I don't necessarily have the answer to. Your best bet is to ask it in Discord. Some of the Discord questions I wasn't able to get answers to in time, especially if you just asked it yesterday. Some of that stuff is really in depth. But stay tuned, because as I mentioned, we are going to be unboxing all of these products, and Jake is going to be gaming on a lot of these products here on this very Twitch and YouTube channel you're watching right now. So keep those questions handy. And as we get our hands on them, we'll be able to answer some more stuff for you in terms of like hands-on and all that. Oh my gosh, Jake's.
These are the next two shows.
Those are the next two shows, guys. So follow us on Twitch, follow us on YouTube, all that good stuff. Again, also the other thing I'll say is if you're asking a question, it's possible we already answered it earlier in the stream. As soon as we sign off here, the full Q&A will be on YouTube and Twitch. You can go watch it anytime. I'll even add timestamps to YouTube before the end of the day because I love you guys that much. So yeah, Anyway, tune in next week for the unboxing of the Kithara. Week after that, we'll be showing off the Flow Z13 KJP edition with many more unboxings coming soon. We stream this show, ROG Pulse, every Thursday live, so you can tune in to see all of that good stuff. And we also, our North American office, if you guys, those of you that had questions about motherboards, definitely check out our Friday stream on the ASUS North America YouTube channel. JJ, our colleague at the US office, goes into a lot of depth on motherboard stuff. He's kind of our motherboard guy in a lot of ways. So if you want to like really dig into some of that, go check out his stream on Fridays. And you can also go check out our Discord server at any time to keep up with everything else we're doing, as well as hang out with other ROG fans. rog.gg/join Discord.
Yeah, guys, thank you so much for all your questions. Thanks for tuning in. Tomorrow we'll have some more gaming. I'm debating on Diablo 4, or do I try Path of Exile? We'll see. We'll see you then, guys. Peace out.
History.